We are taking you to the African continent and in the city of Kano, Nigeria in 1957. An 8-year-old boy in Kano buys sweets in bulk and sells them to his classmates for profit. 50 years later, he is the richest person in Africa with a $30 billion empire. At 86,400 stories, we document how ordinary people build extraordinary empires from nothing. Researched, condensed, under 20 minutes. Now to Aliko Dangote. Aliko Dangote was born in 1957 in Kano, Nigeria. The environment shaped everything that came after. In 1960s, Kano, under British colonial rule turning to independence, business meant trading, not manufacturing. Nigerians weren't supposed to build industrial empires. That was for foreign corporations. An 8-year-old selling sweets was cute, not foundational. The ceiling for Nigerian industrialists wasn't just low. It didn't exist because Nigerians weren't supposed to be industrialists. He came from a family where he began his entrepreneurial journey at age 8, selling sweets to classmates before starting his empire with a $3,000 loan from his uncle. In Kano circa 1957, families like his weren't supposed to dream about empires. They were supposed to survive, get by, accept whatever ceiling the system placed above them. But Aliko Dangote was already seeing things differently. Not asking, how do I fit in? But how do I build something that doesn't exist yet? The early years tested everything Aliko Dangote thought he knew about persistence. Resources ran out multiple times. Doors closed faster than new ones opened. The people who were supposed to help kept saying the same thing. This isn't going to work. Be realistic. Find something stable. You're not the kind of person who builds this kind of thing. He heard no so many times it stopped registering as an answer. It started sounding like a challenge. This wasn't a setback. It was the landscape. Every door that opened led to another that was locked tighter. Every maybe turned into a no. But every rejection revealed something. A gap in his approach, a flaw in the pitch, or sometimes just confirmation that the other person couldn't see what he could see. The struggle wasn't just about money or resources. It was about convincing a world that had already made up its mind. Then Aliko Dangote found the gap. Not through inspiration, through observation and necessity. He saw something the market was telling him that competitors couldn't hear because they were too comfortable to listen. They were too invested in how things had always been done to see how things could be done differently. Aliko Dangote wasn't burdened by that comfort. He had nothing to protect and everything to build. The pivot wasn't dramatic from the outside. It rarely is. But it was the moment when everything that came before started to compound instead of just accumulate. All the rejection had been training. All the struggle had been research. Aliko Dangote wasn't just building a business. He was proving a thesis that nobody else believed in yet. Dangote Group started to work, not overnight, not dramatically, but consistently. What started as an idea that nobody believed in became a machine that nobody could ignore. Same qualities that made the early years so difficult. The outsider perspective, the desperation turned discipline, the inability to accept no as final, now became moats that competitors couldn't cross. They could copy the product, they couldn't copy the hunger. The growth wasn't luck, it was compound interest on years of work that nobody saw or applauded. Every failure had taught something specific. Every rejection had pointed toward the approach that would actually work. Aliko Dangote had become an expert in his industry, not through credentials, but through the accumulated weight of doing. As he later said, it took me 30 years to get to where I am today. Today, Aliko Dangote stands at the helm of an empire worth $30 billion. Transformation seems almost impossible when laid out like this. From nothing to $30 billion. From no resources to resources that could fund nations. But the numbers are just the visible part. The internal change, the moment Aliko Dangote decided the ceiling didn't apply, happened long before anyone could see it. That decision, made in obscurity, is what made everything else possible. So what do we learn from the story of Aliko Dangote? That starting points don't determine destinations, that the constraints you face can become advantages, that impossible is often just hasn't been done yet, and that his story proves documented, verified, that possibility has no postcode. If this story meant something to you, if it gave you even a small piece of what you needed today, subscribe to 86,400 Stories. New documentaries 3 times per week, all under 20 minutes. And do tell me in the comments what part of this story hit hardest for you. And remember, possibility has no postcode. Anything is possible.